So you think of the United States, even as people went to church on Sundays, the Ku Klux Klan, you were not allowed to go into those churches. You were buried in a different cemetery. You could not eat at a certain, but they say they're serving the same God.
Mm.
And
Yeah, they're
yeah,
deceiving
so
themselves.
yeah, that was one of the tools used to keep us distracted as well. So yeah, but we have to get the message out there, and just like you said, otherwise, none of us is truly going to be free. At the end of the day, the chain is attached, in both directions. Yep. And
All
that's
right.
why I'm passionate about this, about
Thank you so
conservation. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Now, looking at conservation, looking at the work that you are doing, I want to understand, how do people take the message when you talk to other people? It could be right there in Bahamas or in other parts of the Caribbean. What do you see people think? What is their reflection about this conservation? I'm not saying that we shouldn't touch nature at all, but we must understand that we are also part of nature. That if we
Yes.
destroy nature, we are destroying ourselves. So by
Exactly.
conserving nature, meaning that we just need to be mature enough to understand that whatever we are doing to nature, we are doing it to ourselves. So what do people understand in line with these simple things?
Well, the opposition mainly for me always comes from the Berlin Conference crew mindset, because they recognize that what I'm speaking about is what you said earlier about sitting at the table as an equal. So when I speak of conservation, I speak of a model that is about using these resources where it truly benefits the citizens of that country. And so I am equally passionate about, what's happening in Haiti or Cuba or Jamaica, because the very model that has been practiced are those who really do not believe in equality. So justice to them it has to be tilted in their favor, and you should just fall in line and follow that model. And so that is a threat to us all, because the environment, uh, they're some of the biggest destroyers of the environment. And unfortunately, that miseducation filtering down to even persons of African descent or wherever you are, because we develop those habits and believe that there is no better way. And so it is met with a lot of resistance, because they recognize that you're talking about truly empowering others uh, to be at the table as an equal. And for me, my motivation is, it does not matter what people like that think, because I'm actually fighting for their benefit as well. Because as you pointed out, we can be free on one hand if, you know, equally the chain is attached in the other direction. But that type of spirit is one of scarcity, where I think the only way I can be successful is that you're not successful. And so there's enough. I mean, you think of Africa, Africa has most of the arable land in the world. Africa has so much resources. The United States economy cannot be fueled without it. Whether you're flying on a commercial jet, whether you're using your cell phone, or you're driving in a Tesla vehicle, the batteries. But the miseducation is what fuels all of this, because most people don't uh, know the connections. And so, even in the conservation arena, I attended a conference, less than a week ago, and it's the Caribbean Gulf and Fisheries Institute. But yet, the Bahamas has the largest mangrove nursery system in the entire Western world. But when you look at how conservation is practiced, who's funding the research, and is the human component generally included of how you empower locals with the skills and the tools that they need. And that's not the typical model that is practiced. People use to scout out these resources so that they can make more money, but they're thinking about, even if they're managing the fisheries, in most cases, they're thinking about it from a selfish standpoint, you say. But despite that,
But when are we going to be tired of that model? Because we can see now. Okay, now we come back to what we usually do here, which is where we find our responsibility. Because I really cannot control the European. I'm not. I don't have that kind of power, but I can control myself as an African, and so that
yeah,
is where I choose to lay more emphasis on that. Now, what is it going to take us to understand that the model we are practicing is not working for us? That we need to change because freedom is costly. Freedom cannot be given, it can never be given. You always need to take it. The reason Africans are not respected, are not taken seriously, is that we do not take ourselves seriously yet. It's not that we
yeah,
have always do like this. No. Since our encounter with the European, we have always played this subordinate role. We don't want to play the man role. We like to play the boy role. As long
yeah,
as we play the boy role, the game will remain the way it is because it was designed by the European. The system that we practice in Africa was designed by the European. How could you possibly win the man who designed the game you are playing?
you're right.
We must be tired of that and choose to play our own game. Of course, that means now we need to pay the cost of be free. Because if we don't pay the cost, the price for it, it will always be like this until thy kingdom come. This is where I want you to speak more to.
Yes. No, you're absolutely right. And that's been the journey in my life for the last 30 years. And oftentimes you're misunderstood. And oftentimes the opposition comes from fellow Africans who themselves, because the miseducation has been so deep, they think that you're, just a troublemaker, stirring up the water, and so that is why we have to focus on education at that level. That's where my focus has been, but it makes it a very difficult task at times because oftentimes you and I are not getting the support from fellow Africans. A lot of people are comfortable with the system remaining the way it is because they might be benefiting a few dollars here and there. And oftentimes they're the first ones who come to fight you or to create the opposition. But you still have to continue, uh, doing what is right. And for me, that I realize there's no alternative because if you don't do it, it actually will continue to get worse as we see it in so many cases around the world. It's not getting better. It gets worse when people stand by and do nothing about it.